Prestmit started as a solution to a problem, the problem of limited access to some global platforms, right? And because of that limited access, gift cards became the de facto way of getting those things done. So you want to purchase items on some platforms at the time. This is 2018, 2019. There was no mainstream card, right? Dollar card for you to make those kind of payments. And then you went on to look for gift cards. So we saw that this was a big issue. And we started off by allowing users to buy gift cards on Prestmit. And from there, we went on to people who have friends, relatives abroad who then get gift cards a lot. And we also had people who, were freelancers who get paid in gift cards because there was no way for you to really get dollars in, right? And then we started, paying them in Naira while we get their gift cards and, sell that to our partners. And that pretty much was the journey of Prestmit. And because of this, it expanded quickly. And then we moved into crypto. Crypto became another utility that helped you to, to be global to a large extent. And if you look at these two features, you'd see that it allows you to be able to buy stuff online. It allows you to be able to receive money from across the world, right, without any real restriction. So we did this in Nigeria. We've been doing this since 2018, 2019. We expanded into other stuff like eSIMs. We're currently around 1 million plus users at the moment. And when you look at all of it, it became the time for us to say, what next? But before this time, around when we were at 500K users, we started seeing that there was a lot of requests from our brothers in Ghana, right? They also had the same problem we were facing in Nigeria. And that was when the CD part of our system was formed. And when it was formed, it was just crude. There was no reformed way of getting them to receive their payments. We needed to work with partners in very manual, laborious processes. And then one day we're just discussing management call. And there was someone mentioned Startbutton. Oh, there's a new merchant of record out there. And I was just taking my life. Oh, what are these guys? Oh, okay, Startbutton. And then we read out, our legal lead read out, and yeah, that is how we are here today. We never had a standardized way of paying our users before Startbutton. We had a very manual process. And when I say manual, it's very manual, which means that there was a lot of dependency on what people say. So we needed to look for people in Ghana who had CD, who we can then call and say, hey, I know you're a Nigerian, you live in Ghana, we have someone we need to pay in CD, right? We don't know how to get it to them. So can you please send them part of your CD? All right, this is the amount, this is the account number you send it to. And then when you send it, they just let us know that you sent it. I will give you the equivalent in Naira. We're doing this. It worked for 5 people, it worked for 10 people. Then it started scaling to 1,000, to 5,000, to 10,000 people. You should understand that that becomes a significant problem. And when all of this started happening, we had to make a decision. Do we shut it down, right? Or do we, find an alternative? And we're in that place of finding an alternative where Startbutton came in. So before now, it was pretty much WhatsApp messages, Telegram messages, reaching out to people in our circle, reaching out to people who had, agreed to become agents to an extent, all right? We call them partners, who then do the manual offloading to the user's account, right? While we try to do reconciliation on our end. One noticeable improvement we had was in the automation of our payout system, right? Like I said, before now, it was pretty much manual. But because there's a system, right, and we could just, via APIs, say, pay this person, there was no need for us to manually reach out to people to sort out payments. And that was a significant breakthrough for us. I think it was one of the milestones that helped us to achieve some of our targets, both revenue-wise and user transaction-wise, because the speed that you'd use to resolve things manually is not the same as when it's autonomous, right? Automated. So we're able to get things done faster. We're able to attend to customer issues faster, because before now, Ghanaian users were always like, oh, you guys are slow, you guys are not fast enough that. But because of that, they tend to get their payouts in less than 5 minutes, which was a very remarkable progress for us. The other part of it was it made reconciliation easier. So we had a working transactions log ledger, right, on Startbutton that we could also integrate into our own system. And it helped us to know what we've expended. It helped us to know what our position looked like, all right, in real time, compared to going back to say, oh, did you pay this person? Right. We've had issues in the past where someone who we had to pay, someone else in Ghana did not pay the person, right? And there was no way for us to confirm. So the person kept saying, oh, I've paid the customer. The customer kept saying, I've not gotten payment. There was a lot of discrepancy. So it wasn't clear. So right now, we've been able to move all of those issues out of our system entirely. And now we have a single point of truth, right? We have a single source of truth to be able to say, yes, this is where we stand at the moment. Comparing from when we're using the manual system to when we moved into Startbutton, we could see around a 75% growth, increment in the number of transactions we're able to close out in the same given time frame, right? Which meant that customers were satisfied, right? Were able to resolve issues faster. They got their payments faster. And at the same time, the team, in charge of this, were not as stressed as they used to be. 75% achievement is remarkable, right? Looking at the time we spent with Startbutton. We're able to process, we had a target to hit a certain number, but because the CD part of it, right, was manual at the time when we were setting the goal, by the time we looked back at the end of the year, that was 2025, December, we actually surpassed the goal by 13.7, if I'm not mistaken, around 13.7%, which means that the volume of transaction, that is transaction count, that we aim to achieve. So for instance, we have targets like 20,000 completed transactions in a month, right? The volume of transactions we completed in a year on CD payout was 13% more than the set goal for that year. That's pretty impressive on how, if you look at the numbers we do. Yeah, that's pretty impressive on our end. One of the things that delayed our expansion or our expansion strategy was because we knew that there was going to be a lot of hassle, right, in sorting out payouts for people in other African countries. And if you understand the description I gave for the manual process, imagine if you had to do that for 6 different countries. That becomes extreme, right? One of the things we're looking for when we're reviewing Startbutton as our merchant of record system, handling our payout system, is we're looking at the number of countries that Startbutton had access to. And part of the key countries that we needed to put in our strategy, right, in our roadmap for expansion, 4 of them were there. So it made sense to us that it's just a one-time integration, all right, and we can switch on all of these corridors, which is not something you can get easily, right? So if there are people who are on the sidelines saying, oh, is there a reason to use Startbutton? There's so much in it. The fact that you just need a single integration and you are set up for multiple countries. All you need to do is your back office system setup and all of that. But the core headache that you will have with managing humans manually is already resolved. That in itself is the single lab benefit, that trumps every other benefit in using Startbutton, that we are able to say we can turn on any country today and can get operational in that country today. It's amazing.